Welcome to the Jeremiah Patterson Show. The U.S. Department of Education announced on April 21st, 2025, that it will resume collecting on federal student loans in default beginning Monday, May 5th. Essentially, this ends the 5-year pandemic suspension. By the department's estimate, over 5 million borrowers are already in default, over 360 days past due, with roughly 4 million more on the brink, a total that could approach 10 million very soon. The department is framing this as essentially protecting taxpayers and stress that there will be no mass loan forgiveness under the new plan. What happens now, since today is May 5th, is the Treasury Offset Program is going to restart to reclaim delinquent debt. Defaulted borrowers will receive emails this week urging them to pay, enroll in a repayment plan, or rehabilitate their loans. Those who remain out of compliance will face automatic collections. The DOE says by the summer it will begin administrative wage garnishment of paychecks. In practice, delinquent federal borrowers, can also see portions of their tax refunds and even Social Security or other federal benefits offset to repay the loans. According to new reporting today by the Wall Street Journal, the Trump administration is reportedly warning colleges and universities that they could lose access to federal student loans funding if they do not take action to improve repayment rates among former students. This comes as Trump has also threatened to pull funding from other universities for refusing to capitulate to the administration's demands. I spoke earlier today with attorney Adam Minsky, who specializes in helping student loan borrowers, about what this means and the broader implications. This was our interview.
So the U.S. Department of Education announced just a couple weeks ago that they would be restarting collections efforts against defaulted federal student loan borrowers. Collections has been largely frozen or suspended for several years, largely due to COVID. But now those collections efforts are starting back up again. This can include a program called Treasury Offset, which allows the government to intercept federal tax refunds and offset Social Security payments, as well as administrative wage garnishment, which is expected to resume this summer.
Mm. What does this mean for borrowers currently in default, especially those experiencing wage garnishment or tax refund seizures that are expected to start happening?
Yeah, I mean, so for folks who have been in default, there may not have been any immediate consequences for quite some time, but that is about to change. So borrowers are going to start receiving notices about Treasury offset, warning them that they're going to be referred to this program if they don't get out of default. And that will be followed likely by wage garnishment notices in the coming months as well. Borrowers who are in default still do have time to kind of look into options. There might be discharge options available, and there might also be pathways to get out of default and back into good standing, at which point they may be able to access existing federal student loan repayment plans, including affordable income-driven repayment options as well.
Mm. Do you see this new announcement and this new implementation as temporary or the beginning of a long-term policy change?
I think it's clearly the beginning of a long-term policy change. The suspension of collections was really a blip. The Department of Education and federal loan guarantee agencies have long pursued defaulted borrowers through these processes before COVID. And so this is basically just a resumption of what had already been happening for a long time.
What kind of oversight or accountability exists to make sure that loan services and debt collectors comply with this directive?
Well, that's a good question. Unfortunately, a lot of the oversight recently has been gutted. The Department of Education has lost much of its staff through firings and involuntary resignations. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, the CFPB, which is another federal agency that oversees the financial services sector, that has also been largely gutted through staff reductions. So there's not a lot of great oversight right now. I think a lot of the oversight, unfortunately, is going to fall on state entities and state attorneys general, as well as private folks, individuals trying to enforce various consumer protection laws like the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, the Fair Credit Reporting Act, and other state laws that protect consumers from unfair and deceptive debt collection practices.
This is something that I've been hearing about from lots of folks who've been curious about this. What protections are in place for low-income borrowers, or those who are experiencing like financial hardship at the time? Like, how will this affect them?
Well, as part of the process of referring people to Treasury offset and wage garnishment, they're supposed to issue an initial notice with a window of time for the borrower to respond. That's 65 days for Treasury offset and 30 days for wage garnishment. One of the possible responses that a borrower can have during those windows is requesting a hearing and an exemption based on financial hardship. So basically, there's some paperwork that the borrower would need to complete, a financial statement showing their income and expenses, and then there would be a hearing to determine whether they should be exempted from those collections methods as a result of their financial circumstances.
Mm. Lastly, I wanted to ask you, how exactly is the Department of Education ensuring that those affected borrowers are actually getting notified of the changes effective today?
Well, the Department of Ed says they're going to be doing a massive outreach campaign through emails and through other means to try to reach borrowers who are in default. I think it's too soon to say how comprehensive and how effective that's going to be, particularly again, given some of the big staff reductions at the Department of Ed. I mean, there are millions of borrowers who are in default right now. They think there's going to be millions more who will be in default within the next few months because they're already behind on their payments. Some estimates have it at 10 million people might be in default by the summer. And so, they're saying they're going to try to reach everyone. I guess we'll have to see how effective that is. It's too soon to say.
I know I said last question, but there was something that recently changed where it was like the convergence, or I think it shifted to certain things that the Department of Education does switch to the SBA, the Small Business Administration. So are people needing to be in contact with SBA or DOE?
Nothing has been shifted over to the SBA. That was simply an announcement by President Trump, who suggested that he wanted to move the federal student loan system over to the SBA. That has not happened. Most people believe that that would require an act of Congress. That's not something that can happen unilaterally. But so far, all federal student loans that are held by the Department of Ed are still with the U.S. Department of Education. There are some older types of loans called Family Federal Education Loan Program loans or FELP loans that might be held by guarantee agencies, which are outside entities that are backed or guaranteed by the government. If you're not sure who has your defaulted federal student loan, the best place to go is studentaid.gov. You can log into your account and it'll tell you whether you have defaulted federal student loans and who your loan holder currently is.
Once again, my guest tonight is Adam Minsky. He's an attorney who specializes in helping out student loan borrowers. Mr. Minsky, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
If you enjoyed this video here on the Jeremiah Patterson Show, be sure to hit the like and subscribe button so you don't miss more independent news. I've been doing this since I was 13 years old. Now here we are nearly 7 years later, still going strong. If you'd like to support us with independent news, you can share this video with a family or friend. You can also support us financially by donating, as your donations are crucial to this work because we are independent journalism. Those are the ways to financially donate. I want to thank all of you who have supported the show by donating financially or getting my book Resistance. I'm eternally grateful. You can also follow us at Blue Sky at TJPS News and Substack at TJPS News, where exclusive clips of the Jeremiah Patterson Show will be posted there and paid subscriber content only is published.